webinar. This would be different than what you've seen or heard before in terms of what's out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself here also, so you get to know me. Some of you know me before. I know I've seen some familiar names in here, and I'm just going to go through this. If you have any questions, go ahead and type it into the Q&A area, and then I'll get to those as I go or at the end. So let's dig in. And by the way, I'm not really seeing any responses other than into the Q&A. So if you want to put it in there, that's great. My name is Jan Ragnerud, and this was a webinar I did with SEMrush a little while ago. I basically came here to the US a while back, and I started up as a musician, actually. I know we actually have a musician on here as well tonight. I was 15 years old. We made it to the top 10. It was amazing. I had to deal with the contracts and the hotels and the venues and the managers, and I was just sort of elected to do that. I didn't like it, but it actually set me off on my entrepreneurial journey, if you will. So as I mentioned, I came here to LA a while ago from Norway, and we have five people in the family: mom and dad, and brothers and sister. And my dad was a teacher, and mom a homemaker. So I just want to kind of let you know a little bit about me. So I know actually many of you came in through an organic post as well as an email, including some Facebook ads that I was running. And so my background is music, as I said, but I turned to software, worked for Microsoft and Yahoo. And then I turned sort of marketing expert. I was just very interested in marketing because through all those years I worked on software. I was talking to the executives, and I heard their hallway chatter as well as their boardroom chatter when I walked by of how do we get more visibility? How do we drive more traffic? What about our sales, et cetera, et cetera? And ultimately, that's what it's all about: servicing your audience and getting sales and pushing products out there and making an impact. And so, as I mentioned, in LA, my wife is from Brazil, and my three kids speak Norwegian, Portuguese, and English, obviously, Norwegian as well. So here's an older picture and a more updated to the right. I won't bore you with that, but ultimately, what I do is I service clients primarily with ads, but I do custom sort of engagements in terms of helping clients with their digital marketing efforts. Was on a call earlier today with an entire sales team of 15 from Florida and actually around the globe, from Ecuador to Mexico, and several locations here in the US. It's a $15 million company, and we're talking about building funnels and some of the things we'll talk about here today. But whether you're large or small, the same thing applies. And I'm going to be talking about that here today. So I just went through that. I hit the wrong button. Can you believe it, man? So anyway, I own a digital marketing agency, chaosmap.com in Los Angeles here. Started that in 2007, but I quit in 2013. It was just not the right fit. But the owners at that time said, Jan, we're going to just hand it back to you. They took $100K cash, left me with the name and a little bit of bank money, which was a joke, right? Anyway, I won't go there. So at that time, the twins were born shortly before that, and of course, I'm starting to ask the questions of how will I pay for all of this newness into the family. And I had left corporate America at that point, or actually before that, and then I started the agency. And so, see, the timeline was a little screwed up there. But anyway, so the last job at Aon, it was a healthy salary. I just left all that, right? So this was actually before, and then before I quit in 2013, just to make sure you understand. Then I wrote 3 books on SEO, which you see a couple of them up there: blogging, website optimization, SEO. And I started attracting clients in different markets: B2B, B2C, legal, finance, real estate, health and wellness. It was an exciting time, learning a lot, right? Not all successes there, but you know what? that's part of the journey, which I'll be talking about here today. And then what I like doing actually a lot is consulting with small businesses, startups, but also large scale enterprises. Again, similar problems and challenges, just different scope in terms of both budgets and resources, staffing, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, I just want to make sure if you're if you're here and you are looking to really grow your business through advertising, then you are in the right place. And there's just a couple of notes for you here, so you understand that it's all about having tried or wanting to grow or wanting to go from A to B, and that gap I'm going to help you narrow that gap, but that you haven't actually solved it yet, right? That there's a constant struggle or challenge, or just simply the ability to scale. That you have something good already established, it's proven, it's selling, but you can't seem to break through that next level ceiling. And that could be, for the larger enterprises, the 100K a month level, right? The CPA, which is the cost per acquisition or cost per lead, however you determine it for your business, it's just not fitting within the model. So it's a negative losing money situation, even if you count the long-term value of a customer. So, so ultimately, that's what it's all about here today. And at the same time, if you are a skeptical person, I mean, natural skeptics, we all are, we're human, right? But if you feel that the world is out to get you, that there's always just something behind the corner or around the corner that's going to be out to say something or do something, you're just skeptical, then you should probably exit left here. The same thing applies if you're watching this training and you're getting good value from it, but then you're super annoyed at the end when I present a program or an opportunity for you to actually get coached and get this to the next level, then you should probably exit here as well. Because I just want to be upfront, right? I think that we all have been on enough webinars to understand that, yeah, there's the educational component, there's the getting to know you, there's the Q&A, all of that, right? But at the same time, there's likely an offer, and I'll be offering you something really cool here at the end if you stick around. So if you're on a laptop or desktop, that's an excellent choice, because I'll be sharing some screens, and on the mobile gets a little diffused, if you will. So we're going to try and make sure that you're on a laptop or desktop. And of course, make sure you're in a quiet place and that you get focused here for the next 45. So I'm going to talk about how I discovered this, what I call the profit booster. And it was really because of that technology thing that I mentioned, where I have all that experience in software development and technology. It was easy for me to create websites and apps and really build out platforms behind the scenes like websites to serve audiences and to serve my clients. But in fact, I got too close to it, right? So I ultimately was, I was too much inside my head. That's what I'm talking about here. And I started looking at this and I realized, it's good to be knowledgeable and be experienced, but, in fact, it's really cool. But if you can't get out of your head and be really focused on the end result, which is serving your audience and what they want and specifically what they need, then you are not actually going to the right, or going in the right direction, I should say. So as I said, I thought everything was easy, but it was dead wrong, right? So yeah, I think for me, it was the word beliefs, as you see there. That's what it was all about. Like, I believed this was easier because I had all the tech stuff going. I knew how to write some copy, although that was not my forte, but I could copy and paste, right? And that was a problem, as you'll see here in a second. But yeah, I got into the technical aspects. And if you don't know what ABO or CBO is, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But, a tech person, you tend to kind of analyze and get into the tool set and the ads manager and things like that. And you just really you're starting in the wrong place, as you'll see here. And I started blaming myself, like not feeling good, right? Like, dude, I thought I got this. And I started in 2012 with Facebook ads. So, hey, with all my knowledge and my experience, I think I can do this. But no, I was paying the stupid tax, right? So I looked for mentors. I tried a lot of things. But ultimately it was this switch from like, get out of your head to who are you serving? You know, what's that audience looking like? Who is that person? You know, we talk about avatars, Jane and Tom, you know, who is it? You know, more than just the demographic, which I'll share here in a second. Yeah, so it became all kind of pessimistic here, and I tried pretty much all things marketing wise. And ultimately I talked about skeptics. I became skeptical for pretty much all things marketing. It was just, yeah, here comes another sort of semi-scammy, you know, tweaky thing that's going to try and move me. And it was not a good place to be, in other words. So it was all about really moving more towards understanding the receiving end, or for me to give to the receiving end, and learning how to position offers, messages, copy, all of it. And so I started learning, and Dan Kennedy was a huge inspiration here, as well as getting all his books. So you might want to check that one out. I started to get a little bit better about how I did some of these things. I'm going to show you some stats here today too, so you'll get take a look at it, take a gander. And these are the 3 mistakes that I typically find across the board with clients. And this was true for me, probably is true for you too. Like if it's not working, what do? You kind of go and look at your competitors, and you start stealing or copying or modeling ads and funnels and videos and all this stuff. And yeah, it may work for a little bit, but really doesn't. Certainly not scalable, and you're not sure why, right? Sort of in line with that is testing many ads and audiences, and you know, lots of stuff cooking at the same time. Not really clear on the goals there, the budgets, and no systems in place for scale, because nothing's working, right? So, you know, your products, your audience, your funnel, the offer, everything is just not working, is the summary. Why is that? Well, I'll explain it to you here today. And no tracking or optimizing properly, right? So tracking is essential, and there's a certain way to do this, and a certain way to capture it. And, you know, this whole idea of spray and pray becomes kind of commonplace. Yeah, it was not a pretty place as I was kind of going through these, and these are many common mistakes I find out in the marketplace. So if this is you, then hey, we'll be addressing this today. And as I said earlier, this idea that you're just fully blaming yourself, that, you know, you're not smart, not cool, not anything valuable to this marketplace, and you just quit and or go somewhere else, or just not do anything for a while. So the surprise here is it's not about Facebook ads, and it's a bit sort of anti, I guess, establishment, anti the community at large, because it is about the Facebook ads. No, not until you have everything set up correctly. And it starts with the research, obviously, to make sure that you're not guessing at this stuff. But ultimately, it's this. And this becomes a core piece of the Facebook booster program here, the Ads Booster program, which is, who is your ideal client? And you've heard this before, and it gets into demographics, sure, but it's more into the hopes, dreams, fears, you know, aspirations, and psychographics, the mindset. Where are they at? You know, the classic sentence is, enter the conversation in their mind as it appears at that moment, right? And that you know who you're talking to. So technographics, firmographics in the B2B area, essential to get that right. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this, by the way, but that then ties into what are the goals for that audience, for that person. And yes, it gets down to Tom and Jane, right? To that person or persons that you're serving. And there could be that sort of 80-20 rule here of, you know, it's not a 100% fit in every case, but, you know, 20% of the, if you get that right, you're going to get 80% of the outcome, or the results, as it were, in terms of trying to match this up. And you want to address a mass desire here. So it's not just, you know, my favorite example is like, under basket water weaving, right? Very, very specific, or cat juggling. Yeah, it's not a mass desire, right? You want to talk about the mass desire. And also what within that is a buying principle or principles, right? So that's going to be key for you. And thirdly, what emotional appeal? I talked about this in the psychographics area, right? What is really lying behind this mass desire? And if you want to get a great book here from John Caples, Tested Advertising Methods, he talks about this. There's 4 of them: love, sex, greed, fear, altruism. And yeah, when you say sex, not the physical act, right? It's the love component, and there's really just 4 of them. So you can speak to one or all of these, and that gets more elaborate in terms of like creating sales copy, which we're not going to get into today. And also we're not going to get into the market research here today. That's actually in the program if you decide to join that. But these 3 here form the essence of everything that I see in terms of the Facebook ads not working, you know. And if you want to extrapolate this further, you could say any advertising platform. So Google, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. TikTok is kind of a different animal, but it's still the same thing. You got to talk to a certain person, certain specific audience. What's the problem, hope, dreams, aspirations, goals, and what is it that drives their emotional? We buy through emotion, not logic. You know, we get that, right? So when you're buying a Tesla, is that the most logical thing? It certainly is an emotional one, right? Showcase it to your neighbors, to your friends, et cetera, et cetera. You get the drift here. So an example would be, I help market achieve mass desire without emotional tension. I help business owner launch ads profitably without fear of losing money. So this whole thing is going to be an ongoing exercise throughout the program, because once you get this, we can move forward. And you can see how all of this ties into the messaging and to the positioning of everything you say and do online. So are you willing to follow a system, really? Well, if you are, then hey, you are in the right place, as I mentioned. So if you want to just take this to the next level yourself, I put this in one here this morning. These are classic books. I got this from Smart Blogger, actually. And Ogilvy, Tested Advertising Methods, talked about that already. And we have, of course, the awesome Gary Halbert, number 5 there, Eugene Schwartz, and the 2 on the right. And the one at the bottom, which is in the middle there, is Eugene Schwartz, a fantastic book that is probably $200-300 now on Amazon in hardcover, print edition. But the idea that there's a stepped approach to this is not sort of unfamiliar probably to you, but it's very well defined through the 5 levels of awareness inside that book. And this is how we can help position your message and your copy to your receiving end, to your audience, in a very sort of frameworky way, right? Like there's a process and there's a framework here. And this is where it gets interesting fast, because you can clearly see that in these stages here, there are different ways in which you communicate to your audience during those stages, right? And inside Facebook, we have the ability to do videos clearly in advertising, and we can actually build sequences that speak to the emotion and the movement through the funnel right at top of the funnel using videos. That's a more elaborate and advanced strategy, but certainly speaks to this as well. Again, we're not going to cover all of that, but wanted to share this with you. And if you're interested, get this. And of course, scientific advertising is amazing. Almost 100 years old. Yes, exactly. So, so one of the things that we did then is just recently on the left-hand side, upper left-hand side, we were able to go from $84 to $47. It's a fairly recent update, but we changed it from a couple of things on the Facebook side, as well as some in the copy and the ad copy itself. Actually, we simplified it, which that word simplify is something you should remember. We like to make things complex, especially us smart people, right? Talked about that earlier. I'm a tech dude. Let's make it really complex and then it'll be cool. Cool for who, right? I'm not going to go there. I already covered it, but you get the drift. And then here at the bottom right, you can see the drill down effect from these multiple tests that were run inside this ad set, where that ultimately got down to $47 for this particular product and client in the finance industry here. It's an example basically of this. Who you're talking to, what is their immediate need, urgent sort of thing you want to solve, and what's the emotional driver. There you go. There's the Facebook booster in a snapshot, right? There's moving parts to this, clearly, but this allows us to take a look at this in action. One of the things that I also talk about a lot is the opportunity to track things and do it not through automation or third party initially, but something like this. This is another campaign we're running here fairly recently for a challenge online. And we basically go in every day and pull this data. There's some other columns to this that pulls data from the CRM as well, but then we can run comparisons as well as a log of everything we're doing every day and watch the progression, right? This one actually happened to close out, I think, so the 8th through the 12th. Yeah, at the bottom, it ended on the 12th, $85,000, some change. Not all Facebook ads, so don't think this was just all you needed to do and you make 85,000. It's high ticket, so clearly there's a huge average order value there. But the idea here is that we need to get clear on your tracking. If you're not tracking and you're just using the Facebook Ads Manager, which has delayed attribution and issues all by itself, including iOS, etc., you don't want to be doing this without this. If not, do not start, right? So the Facebook Ads Booster method, as I call it here, it might come up with a different name, but that's what it is now. It is based on these three things that we already covered, and that these form the core for the booster method, right? And inside this program that I have, there's a complete video walkthrough of this exact method, as well as additional trainings and worksheets. There's some additional case studies in here. And there's also a really detailed walkthrough how to develop an irresistible offer and how you create that buyer messaging. So I'll just kind of zip through here really quick, but I'll also be joining on a weekly Zoom call, by the way. So for you all that, I don't want to leave you in the dust here. And yeah, we're going to get into some of the pixel setup and the technical aspects of it, as well as I mentioned the KPI metrics and tracking. Some of the things at the bottom here, we're not going to go into too much now, but I actually have many times gone and talked to a potential prospect, to a client, and I asked them, what's your CPA? What's your AOV? And it's not always clear. And that kind of amazes me. It should be super clear, because that means they know marketing and stats. The data is all there is, right? And we're not going to get into the customer acquisition cost here, but there's a lot of formulas, a lot of different ways in which you can look at this stuff. But ultimately, it's this: if you spend $1 and you get $2 out and you can scale it, yeah, do that all day long, right? Warren Buffett would love it. So basically the Facebook Ads Booster course training is this. And if you want to take a look here, I'll just kind of walk through it here real quick. But ultimately, I intended this to be kind of a quick walkthrough here today. I'm going to get that chat set up a little further for next time. But really, ultimately, it's this whole thing, and you've heard and seen this where, okay, I know this, but have you done it and successfully completed it? Well, that means you don't need to be here, right? You're on your way already. Congratulations. But if you're still struggling, then you have those two choices between, I'm just going to still do my thing, or, hey, I like what I'm hearing here. Jan, you're making sense to me. I'd like to see what's up, right? Well, that FB Ads Booster program that I developed is the faster way to get there with my help. So I didn't mention the price, but it's $297, which is purposely low for this particular area of work. I charge $2,000 plus monthly for consulting, just one-on-one without the agency. And by the way, the 100% guarantee, you'll see it on the page. That is, if you implement all the things I'm showing you and nothing's working, hey, there's no ill will. keep the data and the information that you have, and we'll refund you the dollar amount, and no worries on that one. And also important, when you sign up, you're going to meet with an onboarding specialist, which also, depending on the queue, is me. And we're going to talk about exactly what you want to get as far as results, but also to make sure that you get all the login information, passwords, all of that stuff, because that tends to get lost. I have had actually clients who sign up and tell me, Jan, I'm really frustrated. I can't even log in. Okay, let's take a look. Don't even have the password because he went to the spam folder, right? So those are the things we're going to cover there as well. I mentioned the weekly live. And so I present to you this question, just imagine, right, how this would change your life and business if you took a look at this, right? And if you started implementing this, and if you started seeing results of this, and if you started getting super excited, well, not only will you get excited, I'm going to get excited, and heck, maybe I'll get a testimonial from you, right? I mean, this is no pressure, but that's what we want, success all around. So I'm coming towards the end here, but I wanted to see if there were any questions here. Yeah, there's a couple of questions in here. I'm going to cover that at the end here, because I don't want to break this flow here as we got it going. So to recap, we have really cruised through here. We have covered a number of things, including the common mistakes, that this system of mine is proven. It's not just theory, and you don't have to be part of the 90% that fail, right? This is a whole next level type of conversation, and you can use my training and my help to implement this. And we talked about your choices to do it yourself or go into the program. And yeah, I didn't mention this, but I started Facebook in 2012. And I want to say it was not until about 2013, 14, where I started grasping a little bit of this thing, where I talked about the messaging and all that stuff, right? I was still doing a lot of Google ads, by the way, so it was kind of slow adoption. But now we have a perfectly balanced system. And along the way, of course, I tried a lot of the classic mentorship from some of the gurus out there. And it was helpful, but it wasn't until I had the breakthrough of how do I write copy and messaging that matches the audience, and that whole profiling bit that I talked about. You're going to get access to the course, obviously, but also to the group at $297. I'm only looking for 10 people. So this is not a mass situation, mass adoption situation, or mass grab. I'm looking for 10 people because I'll be working closely with you, but also I want to see success with you. So it's not just watching a couple of videos and didn't work or did work, or I want my money back, whatever. That's just not how I play. That's not, I want you to be successful. So I want to share with you all that I've learned and what I've gone through and what I exercise with my clients daily. And yeah, I talked about the testimonials, no pressure on that one, but we'll get there. And so there's some new announced bonuses. You'll get access to it. And also some of the folks that we work with, especially at the client level, they want us to build out these funnels, and we charge $5,000 for that. That's not going to be your situation. We're going to give you some of the templates just out the gate so you can implement it. Although this gets a bit into that sensitive area of copy and paste and do what everybody else is doing. I see a lot of coaches and consultants out there. Yeah, just copy my stuff. If everybody's doing that, especially at scale, people are just going to get blind to it, right? So while using these are important for testing and to validate some concepts for you, we're going to make sure that it's actually used using your psychology and your inspiration to make this happen. So, and yes, there's no behind the scenes additional charges or monthly fees or anything like